Attention all radio stations and television channels in Riverside. In the next few minutes, please tune into the state network for citizen participation and press. At this time, the Mayor of Riverside, Mr. Alan Lawless, addresses the entire citizenry.
My fellow citizens, good morning. 2 weeks after this government took office, we wanted to give this public account from the mayor's office located in the government house in Bayside to present to the people of Riverside the situation in which we have found the state and the repercussions that this means in every sense for its development. We take on this commitment with full responsibility and conviction to fulfill the mission entrusted by the state as guardians of internal security and protectors of the highest moral, intellectual, social, political, and economic values. In recent months, the state government has plunged Riverside into a series of upheavals aimed at generating disorder, polarization, and violence among citizens. In response, in the last elections, the citizens of Riverside voted and decided that we should take over the government, inspired by the noble mission that falls to us as former police commanders, according to the law. Our responsibility is not only to preserve the sovereignty of the state against internal or external threats, but also to ensure internal order, physical and moral security of all citizens. Hoping that this becomes a democratic tradition and transparency of the government to its fellow Americans, we begin the first public account 2025. First, let's start on January 10, immediately after the ceremony ended. A meeting was held with Judicial Director Marcus Pendleton and all the government secretaries. This meeting allowed the government to establish the route of action it would follow and begin its first steps less than an hour after taking office. That week, on January 12, under the direction of the Secretary General of Government Mateo Lopez, a public call was opened for the management of the Federal Aviation Administration in Riverside. We also immediately contacted the emergency services, Riverside Police Department, and Riverside Rescue in order to arrange a meeting with each of the leaders of each institution. The response from Riverside Rescue was immediate and positive, showing themselves to be collaborative and available to Riverside and this new government. On the other hand, the initial response from the top brass of the Riverside Police Department was unacceptable and showed a lack of respect for the authority of the Secretary of Security, Christopher Morgan. The response was brief and lacked any explanation or justification for not being able to attend the requested meeting. The lack of a formal greeting to the authority and the absence of a legible signature are details that reflect a lack of professionalism in the high command of the police department. This ultimately forced the secretary to petition the mayor to order the police department to collaborate with the government. The lack of collaboration and respect from the department's high command is worrying, as public institutions are expected to work together for the common good. It is positive that, after the mayor's intervention, the High Command finally showed itself willing to collaborate and offered a date and time for the meeting. However, this late and conditional response does not erase the impression that the commander is not willing to work with the government in good faith. Despite the above, a few days later the meeting with the Riverside Rescue Service and the Riverside Police Department was able to materialize. At these meetings, the heads of departments were informed of the inspection and evaluation to which they and their departments would be subjected, as well as the bases and regulations. In other areas, a response was given to 3 letters sent to the government which, after the abandonment of functions by former Mayor Van Claveren and his secretaries weeks before the end of their administration, remained unanswered. In addition, we also sent letters to meet with the heads of the Riverside Car Factory and Riverside Harbor, with whom we held meetings to schedule inspections and outline work routes. And in the least transcendental, we decree and publish a renewal of the shields of the state government of California, the government of Riverside County, and the Department of Justice. As part of this cabinet's action to bring government closer to the people, we are opening up competitions so that any citizen who meets certain requirements can manage, under government supervision, any of the 5 temporary jobs that our county currently has. The call for applications ended a few days later, and we would therefore like to congratulate the new managers of these state-owned companies. We issued the first official government bulletin in which we made our first actions with citizens transparent. On January 19, the general inspection of the Riverside Police Department officially began, after receiving serious complaints, allegations, and records of irregularities coming mainly from high command. A few days later, we received the resignation of Department Captain John Kalski, officer who was to undergo evaluation and who was a primary target of internal complaints within the department. Changing the subject. On January 22, the Federal Aviation Administration's call for applications was closed, appointing Ms. Elizabeth Shepard and Mr. John Collins as directors, to whom we extend our congratulations. The next day, January 23, as a result of primary actions of the inspection of the Riverside Police Department, as mayor of Riverside, I opened a disciplinary file for actions outside of what was established by law, because a high command was apparently violating what was established by law to guarantee transparency, equal opportunities, and internal meritocracy. Now, it is up to the citizens to know the situation in which the county is. We have received a government without records, without instructions, and without any type of protocol from the previous government. We have had to start from zero, evaluating and planning how to fix the mistakes that were made in the past. These were not easy days, but we can already see the small fruits of our efforts, and we hope that soon you will all be able to see them too. We have received a government that has been abandoned, whose mayor and secretaries have forgotten their oath and duty to the citizens. But that's what we've come for. Riverside voted for homeland and freedom so that we can work hard for this county. But, most importantly of all the problems that exist, what will happen in the future? The main objective of this government is security, and that is how we will make Riverside great again. Overseeing organizations, serving citizens, and making sure that things work in one way or another. With firm and direct actions, we will be able to overcome the security crisis we are experiencing and reinsert Riverside into the path of development. But we will not make you believe in empty hopes. We will be clear and transparent with our people. In less than 5 days, the Secretary of Health will begin the general inspection and evaluation of Riverside rescue directors. At the same time, the Secretary of Security will continue his exhaustive inspection of the police department, exposing all shortcomings in order to work on them and punish those responsible. While the Secretary General of Government Mateo Lopez will be in charge of inspecting organizations such as Riverside Harbor, Riverside Car Factory, and the Federal Aviation Administration. On the other hand, in less than 24 hours we will issue a decree by which a security committee will be created, in charge of reviewing the matter on a weekly basis, audit the functions of the police, and suggest security measures that this government can adopt. We will also create a new administrative complaints mechanism for the administrative attention and investigation of complaints, claims, denunciations, and similar matters towards city officials, directors of public companies, heads of emergency departments, and any public entity over which this administration may have control, supervision, or support for citizens in their processes. Dear fellow Americans, we can already see the beginning of a new chapter in our county's history. As a new government, we are committed to working hard to restore trust, safety, and prosperity in Riverside. We know that the last few months have been difficult and that distrust has grown. But true patriots and good citizens know that we are committed to transparency, honesty, and democracy. Thanks. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
The Riverside government transmitted. We thank the television channels and radio stations for tuning into the state network of citizen participation and press. The television channels and radio stations can continue their broadcasts separately.